Welcome to this astonishing combination of poetries that you are about to hear. Two poets for whom language is a crucial matter and the ideas of translation and exile are specifically ruminated upon. They both write with a high, anxious, threatened intelligence. They both write of family and language, of parents and memory. Both write as if they'd found a quirky, individualistic, unique way with a poem. Both embroider the printed page with fabrics and colours and buttons and buttonholes built from harassed tradition, the Caribbean and the Gael. Both are more connected by history than any of you might ever realise. We're in Bantry, after all, and here in this town, in 1692 and 1693, the Williamite planters rounded up remnants of defeated Gaelic families, O'Sullivans, McCarthys, Kyohans, O'Donovans, and sent them by the shipload out of Youghal to the sugar plantations of the Caribbean. So here we all are now, settled on this summer's day in Bantry, free in our own republic. Because you are a free people, listen carefully to these two crucial and important voices in the modern world. Both, I would say, very firm voices in this modern world. Yet not only of this world, but speaking with all the power of ancestors and racial trauma. Ailbhe Ghearbhuigh was born in County Kerry not too long ago. Although she grew up wild like everyone in Kerry, she matured into a sublime scholar of Irish and French literature. And all the while, she was carrying that water-divining gift of Irish poetry that has come through to us in key, groundbreaking collections. She graduated from NUI Galway with a first in French and Irish. She also studied at the University of Rennes and taught at the University of Bordeaux. Her doctoral thesis won the Adele Dalsimer Prize of the ACIS conferences in the US, a thesis on the French influence on the Gaelic revival. She taught at Mary I, Limerick, and at Galway until she finally settled into a very lucky Irish department at UCC. For more than 10 years now, she has written the most wonderful essays on Irish subjects, from her Ag Fiú na Haislinge, which was a Jungian analysis of Nuala ní Gcónail and Pauline Buick in 2006, to her most recent dialogue with Nuala ní Gcónail from Cork University Press this very year. But it really is for the poems that I know her, and for the poems you should know her today. Collections like Peacha 2008, Tust agus Oliger in 2016, and Tun Taspig agus Danta Ella last year. In 2016, the Gallery Press published that wonderful selection of her work, translated, The Coast Road, a beauty of a book. Ailbhe has won and has deserved to win the Michael Hartnett Award and the O'Shaughnessy Prize for Poetry. And I can tell you, she's only beginning. We ain't seen half of this poet yet, not half of the fame that awaits her. A poet of dramatic self-awareness in love, of sardonic wit when it comes to friends and family, of sharp observation when it comes to locality and dream landscape. She is accomplished in her one art. With her, the after effect of poetry is like the after effect of Love and Drink, as she writes in Off Aileen. But I won't quote that poem. Instead, I give you the poet, Ailbhe Ghearbhuigh.
Iassamid aráistí baul, Olamid cafe te dove, ach ní léon dow. Oranges we will soon taste, we will drink hot black coffee, but there's no need for haste, for there is great waste in hurrying Oranges we will soon taste. We are interlaced, we are beyond mere play, but there's no need for haste. Slowly kiss my face, savor me, my love, oranges we will soon taste. Stay your hand on my breast, there is fire in the eye, but there is no need for haste. Stay calm, stay firm, I love you fit to burst, oranges we will soon taste, but there is no need for haste. Iasamid aráistí baul, Olamid cafe te dove, ach ní léon dau. Oras mór an fiall, bheith ag brastú, Iasamid aráistí baul. Drid liom a naul, ní gá an griasú, ach níl éon dau. Póg me bhéal go maul, blastíam arún, Iasamid aráistí baul. Cuimil de láimh dem chaul, tá dúil sa túil ach níl éon dau. Fan sochar, fan town, mar rá go danganhu, Iasamid aráistí baul, ach níl éon dau. So my thanks to Alan Gillis for that translation of the poem Grasse Matinée, and my immense thanks to Tom for that introduction. It was somewhat excruciating, but thank you nonetheless. So I'm going to read a couple of poems from Town Taspig agus Tánta Eile, and a lot of the poems in the Town Taspig section, Town Taspig means heat wave, they came in this postnatal rush, and I certainly felt an urgency in writing them, and I think you might hear the urgency through the exhaustion described here. This is a poem that imagines a mother-baby coffee morning in a nightmarish scenario. So I'll read the English first. The translation is by Billy Ramsell. Buyer. We measure her measuring. Will she come in? Will her carriage pass through the door frame? We've registered this kind of thing before, uncertainty at the threshold. But no need for her between two words to hesitate. She'll be swallowed anyway into this kingdom of heat. There's a scatter of us here already, salmon-eyed and sweating. The coffee in our coffee pots sweet and ineffectual. A few of us monitor the clock on the wall, but most wouldn't give you spilt milk for the hour, stationed here between drowsiness and roaring, the hunger sucking at us, brean and niag brean, the matter slurped out of each bone. Oh, how this cursed acoustic titillates and stabs, the whispering and the shrieks and the jibber-jabber. And still she cogitates athwart the door frame, but the only way out for her is to come in. Crow. Ciamí ag thos an raishi isteach, maid na trocale trí ráma an doris. Chonach mar le héad rivisha, gintacht a dáirseach. Ach ní gáde bheith idir gá chórla. Slug for Irenos isteach a riocht seo an tasa. Tá scata goin an so hanne, súile éisgurin is sin na cur alish, tá an cafe sa futta lag agus bug, tá draum ag farag go géir an glug, forvór a gwyn beag biawn an núr, just ag marachtant o nail go búid, an tucker sa dúlarin le fada le stóid, an smuid suite as gach cnáv, gló damant an na háite sa ag réabe, cogarní les gabarocht scréacha. Tá sí fós a dáirseach ag fara isteach. Ach ní léon dá siaracha ná éon tacht as. I'm going to read a poem called July. But just as a little experiment, I'm going to read the Irish and there will be no English. And it's a poem about this time of year where the growth is in abundance and it's just about to turn. Here we go. Uil. An bhliain ag dridum lena buic, brisin fásra trí gach scuilt, seo chuin, ruid, seangáin, haar táirseach, amadú, fehedí, gan áirimh, cuirim fuir leis an lawn seo. Fér fiolín an tóga le beara, páistín fiún ag liú sa chuine, seall ag fás agus seall ag searaga. Tá na báid go dain sa bharige, tá ge siorm ná codal lód fasta, cat a gioní le cloisim se leanamh, slán a bhaile go daga an tathir. Dun 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 dun. Do you know it? Tá na báid go dain sa bharige. Okay, so I might go back, Raymond, and winning and virla arisht. I'll go place my confidence in English again for a little while. This is a translation by Billy Ramsell, and it's a poem called Brew, meaning pressure. And I read this poem at the library yesterday for those of you that were at the climate crisis event, because there's talk about the plastic, this massive plastic with my daughter's name on it. A lot of unwanted gifts arrived to your door. You can't do a whole lot about it. So this is again, I think, a tense enough poem. So this is how it must be. I now live in the kingdom of heat. A child on the knee, I cannot budge, its trace burnt onto my thumbs, a burning path to my door by ants, mice, and visitors. Men of the gospel to be gotten rid of, the same with the feathered opposition. This fort is without protection. It's up to me to feed everything. In the time of need, it'll fall to me to divide the very last morsel. Even bees will taste of that nothingness, for the season of want is approaching us. In my bag is a lump of dead batteries. What good is a yen for recycling? A cairn of nappies grows beyond measure, to the dump with them and with everything. In the sea there's a hillock of plastic, my daughter's name carved on its vastness. On the wall there's a hanging barometer, but I don't have sight of what's written on it. I married a man from these parishes, and when I did so, I married the marsh. I feel it give beneath itself. In thick weather, I can't breathe at all. Brew. Seo mar a bheith fasta. Mara manis a riocht an tasa, ní an gín ach féidir a bhoga, lorug dóite ma láva, cosán dara go dtí an doras, ag seangáin cuartóirí agus locha, locht a tuiscéal ní mór a ruige, maile le locht clúv rasúra, tá an dún seo gan chordáil, ma chraunsa a hitan gach fra hall, fumsa a bheith an aum an gátar, an graim derenach bíg gála na bacha an ngán chud hana, sé súr an ocris chuin go garid, cainrí marva an númper im bhála, ní fiú dada darún achor sála. Caran clúdíní ag níadú as cuimse, chuig an dumpa lo as leis na Harry eile, a musan a géan tá cnocán pleisteach, anna manine granta a scadernach, alla antí, tá baraméad crochta, ach mé gan rair cer a bhuila húrage, fósas fear ón gahar, is fósas an partach, tugan an tala bhuhi, in aimsir verev bín pluchtaí. My second child, both are adorable in case the poems give you any other impression. But my second child was a very wheezy baby, and there were many nights where you'd have to hold her upright to try and help her breathe. and one night I imagined I heard seagulls on her breath. Tá fuileáin den áil, ní chodaló de nocht. Is an cór scarúach istigad a chléomhrach. Tá tú im bhaclan cho díreach le fáil is mise a malach. Don mairán ní dhéalhead ná do hréacha na matán más guagach is town. Tá an narig is suite, tá fuileáin den áil, blasim cáithe na down. There are gulls in your breathing. I won't slumber tonight with such a hoarse chorus beneath your breastbone. You're in my bent arm, sheer as a sea cliff, with me on the precipice. I won't give in to vertigo, nor to sinews, exhaustion, wobbling, but steadfast. The ocean is furious. There are gulls in your breathing. I taste each wave's spray. And that's another translation by Billy Ramsell, as is this one actually, this next poem. In August 2021, I found myself going home to Kerry quite a bit because my mother had an accident. She was knocked over by a car. She's fine now. So I was in Kerry a bit, helping her with things. And the news channel, the 24 news channel, was always on, and the Taliban was approaching Kabul. So those two things are at play here, and I'll read the English first. So this is a poem called Fothraga, and it's translated as cleansing. I'm washing my mother so carefully with water, soap, and sponge. A discord makes for the capital, the black forces closing in on Kabul. The helicopters already settling. I'm washing my mother so carefully, caressing with care the bruised parts, her gentle skin that was blackened. The black forces closing in on Kabul, scooping up wishes and will. I'll see to her back with due diligence, so delicately I'll dry it, thinking forever of impact, the bracing before vulgar force. I'm washing my mother so carefully, the black forces closing in on Kabul. Fothraga. Tá me glanna ma bháthar go cuaramach, le hiisce subal is iadach. Tá cabal déanamh an gcathair. Do bhórsa ag dridim le Kabul, na helicopter hana féin ag túrlingt. Tá me glanna ma bháthar go cuaramach, ag cuimilt go séimh na maul brúite, an cricin bug a dúach. Do bhórsa ag dridim le Kabul, ag scuaba leis mianta is tuil. Túrhead faoin na drim le dúthracht, trimóid le cáréis, ag cuiineh gan stad impact, an tanna in aig fórsa nirt. Is mé ag glanna ma bháthar go cuaramach, do bhórsa ag dridim le Kabul. Things don't seem to be getting much better there, do they? For the women. This is a poem about a hermit. Well, as we discovered earlier when we were talking, maybe it's not really about a hermit at all. I think it's about tuning in to other currents within, sometimes masculine, sometimes feminine. And it's also about getting in touch with nature. This is translated by Owen McAlevride. Hermit. I know a hermit in County Mayo, in the middle of a forest unknown to anyone. He turned his back on music long ago for the smooth rustle of the ash trees. I notice him in the middle of the night, feeling quietly for a tune. He lives on nuts and berries, the hazel he longs for above all else. I go looking for him when I'm tired of the paddling and pawing of life. Be a tree, is his advice to me, and I stand firm. I extend my hands above my head, waiting for the crucial moment. I speak again to my beloved hermit, who stands next to me as a downy birch. Díseartach. Tá díseartach maithne a gúnta bheo, lár faríse nach hól daon bheo. Thug sé cú leis an gceol fadó son sisar nach réig na bhain seog. Tugam fe nara a gwim na híche ag mírnál fán go ciúin síthach. Maran sé chanóana is cuire, an cawl a hauntaíonn sé haar éan ní eile. Téim a tríaltéir nuair a thuirsim de leaparacht is de chrúbáil an tail. Bí a do chrán a chóir le dom is cuirim cos a dacha. Sína ma láva os ma hiún is mé ag fara an nuin. Laurí ma ríist le mar díseartach a nuin, a cheasan in acilam in a bheith chlúvach. And this would be my last poem. Very much looking forward to hearing Raymond. No pressure. And this is a poem, I suppose my second book was very much obsessed with different modes of expression, different kinds of languages, whistling language. This is about a shrieking language in the Basque country. It's a very short one, you'll be pleased to hear. And it's used to express emotion in the Basque country. So I'll read Billy Ramsell's translation first. Irin Sina. If we could out with it like you, fine Basques, letting every outburst out loud, releasing wraths, laments, hosannas, gladnesses, in an ecstatic, yelped, serrated flow, oh, we would be frog-voiced and full of love. Irin Sina. Oh, da memist bhuair nósna a vascacha, ag scuile le gach racht gohord, ag ligant le gach gov, gach gull, gach gui, gach gordas, isro, geir, glorver, goidhach. Vemish suirk is grogach. Gur míl magah.
Thank you so much, Ailbhe, for that beautiful reading. And just a reminder to you that there will be books available as you exit. And I'm sure the poets will be willing, with a little persuasion, to sign them. Raymond Antrobus. Now, if the English language ever lost the word for tenderness, it could be reconstituted easily from the tenderness, the sheer human vulnerability, the fabric of heart-to-heart connection in the poems of Raymond Antrobus. Here is a poet who exposes his vulnerabilities to the world, only to achieve an almost violent power within that transaction. The violent aptness of each line is what propels Raymond's collections. But all of the energy stems from a soul long suppressed. I am tired of people not knowing the volume of their power. He writes in his new collection, All the Names Given. His earlier collection, The Perseverance, had the immense power of blood in it, and it is absolutely no surprise that it won both the Ted Hughes Award and the Folio Prize, as well as being a Poetry Book Society choice, becoming both a Guardian and a Sunday Times Book of the Year. Not hearing, how to hear, how to listen, how and when to speak, all create the crucial material of this latest collection. If Ailbhe ní Ghearbhuigh, as poet of the Gael, is estranged in powerful linguistic ways from the English language, how much more heartbreaking but potentially triumphant is Raymond Antrobus's astonishing act of translation through hearing aid. Both poets are shredded emotionally by technical efforts to be understood. Both are marked by difference. The Antrobus work is a sustained effort of investigation. Many of the poems are surprised into being through questioning, through investigation, not just what's being said, but through words, its history, colonialism, a father's heartless sense of humour, or a grandmother's understanding of Desmond Tutu. England, Jamaica, the American South, all of these landscapes must be made to cohere in the surname, Antrobus. I can be fiendish, I can't be English, say ghosts, though the ghosts also speak through the barman at the Antrobus Arms, making the poet conclude that there are enigmas in my deafness. Childhood intimacies, scattered family relationships, and the sound of his father's voice when he addressed his wife, the poet's mother, rose, and he said it like something in him grew towards the light. It is all here in this marvellous collection, and we are blessed that the poet has come to visit us in person, not from the Caribbean, but from Picador. I give you the poet, Raymond Antrobus.
Thank you, Tom. Hello. Hi, an honor to be here. Just making sure I got the lists. And it's an honor to be treated to that great reading from Ailbhe. Thank you. Looking forward to being in conversation. So the first poem I think I'm going to read here is from this book, The Perseverance. Perseverance is such a rich, interesting word etymologically, but it's also the name of the pub that my dad used to drink in. So it became the title of the book for many reasons, including that it being a pub. And when he passed away, I have so many memories of just being left outside this pub, The Perseverance. So this poem is a memory of the pub. And my dad's favourite singer was a man called Peter Tosh, in which the Peter Tosh line that opens the poem is, "Love is the man overstanding." I wait outside the Perseverance, just popping in here a minute. I'd heard him say it many times before, like all kids with a drinking father, watch him disappear into smoke and laughter. There's no such thing as too much laughter, my father says, drinking in the Perseverance until everything disappears. I'm outside, counting minutes, waiting for the man, my father, to finish his shot and take me home before it gets dark. We've been here before. No such thing as too much laughter, unless you're my mother without my father, working weekends while the Perseverance spits him out for a minute. He gives me 50p to make me disappear. 50p in my hand. I disappear like a coin in a parking meter before the time runs out. How many minutes will I lose listening to the laughter spilling from the Perseverance while strangers ask, "Where is your father?" I stare at the doors and say, "My father is working." Strangers who don't disappear but hug me for my Perseverance. Dad said, This will be the last time before we'll have a TV spilled canned laughter, us on the sofa in this council flat, knowing any minute the yams will boil. Any minute I will eat again with my father, who cooks and serves laughter, good as any Jamaican, who disappeared from the island I tasted before overstanding our heat and perseverance. I still hear, popping in for a minute, see him disappear. We lose our fathers before we know it, and I am still outside the perseverance, listening for the laughter. This poem is called Two Guns in the Sky for Daniel Harris. This is what my voice looks like on Keira's hands. When I was in America, I was trying to pick up some American Sign Language. And like most languages, trying to pick up one word at a time. And the day I wrote this poem, the word I picked up in American Sign Language was alive. And when I heard this news article about a man called Daniel Harris, I knew I had to write something about what happened to him and the danger that we're all in when we fail to understand each other. When Daniel Harris stepped out of his car, the police officer was waiting, gun raised. I use the past tense, though this is irrelevant in Daniel's language, which is sign. Sign has no future or past tense. It is a present language. You are never more present than when a gun is pointed at you. What language says this, if not sign? But the police officer saw hands waving in the air, fired, and Daniel dropped his hands, his chest bleeded out into the concrete, meters from his home. And I'm in New York coffee house reading this news on my phone when a black policewoman walks in, 2 guns on her hips, my friend next to me reading the comment section, Black Lives Matter. Now, what could we sign or say out loud when the last word I learned in American Sign Language was alive? Alive. Both thumbs pointing at your lower abdominal, index fingers pointing up like 2 guns in the sky. This poem is a persona poem in the voice of a friend of mine who I went to school with, who I hadn't seen for a long time. And I bumped into him outside of a chicken shop. And we had this conversation that made me think, I should write this. Seamus Heaney has this quote in which he speaks about poetry being the beat of his tribe. And I love that idea. And I kind of remixed that idea and came up with the line that poetry is music from the place that you were born. And being from Hackney, East London, a place where like grime and all these other kind of genres have spawned from through the language, I thought it was relevant to write this poem. And that. Chicken wings and that. Boss man, salting them and that. Don't assault man, give man a napkin. Big man, no steroid and that. Dark times, new street lights and that. And how's man? I'm getting by and that. Still boy them harass. Not beefing, not tag man, still trap. Cycle man, peddling and that. On road, new pavements levelled and that. Crackney change, still stay dwelling and that. We E8, East man ain't got to adapt. Our kingdom got no land to hand back. Man chat breeze, chat trade winds and that. You out ends, got good job, legit on that. Lots of man dem stayed plotting and that. Raw Ray, flower shorts, you a hipster in that. Man gone vegan. No chicken wings and that. I had a good conversation with Keira about that poem and how to translate that one. And she strangled me and said, "Why did you make me do this poem?" But I think it worked out. This next poem is called Plantation Paint. It's an acrostic poem, a poem which was responding to a piece of art. And as Tom was saying, my family name, Antrobus. By show of hands, how many people here have come across the name Antrobus before? No one in West Cork today. Cool. That's fine. Every time I come back into the country after leaving the UK border, I almost always get asked, where is this Antrobus name from? And then I have to say, well, it's probably from the one place that you're not expecting it to be from, which is England. It's a name of a village in Chester, and I'm often met by this kind of baffled person at the border who's like, "What? No, it's not. I know all about England," and blah, 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 blah. And it's fascinating to me because it's actually a Norse name, and it means between the woods is how it translates, or between the shrubs. And what it means is, I have a name that is so anciently English that it's become foreign to itself. So that as an idea is a gift to any creative person, I think. And I think that informs the tone of this whole, this collection in particular, all the names given. So anyway, I end up in Louisiana. I married my wife, Tabitha, who's from New Orleans, and we end up in a art gallery in the historic New Orleans collection just before the pandemic. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back because there's this talk about, COVID and all this stuff. And anyway, we go to this art gallery, and I think I'm going to be writing a collection all about Antrobus, this village. But because I couldn't get back, I was like, okay, I'm just going to write whatever I can while I'm here. And so in the art gallery, we see this painting of a man standing in the middle of the painting doing this gesture, and he's clearly a kind of priest. And everyone that's surrounding him, they're mostly black men, but there are some women and children there too. And then upon inspection, you can see that the people, they're burying someone. So, it's called plantation burial. And then I'm looking for the name of the painter, and I see the name John Antrobus, painted in 1860. And because I had this name, locational name, it means anyone with the Antrobus name it can be traced back to the village. So since then, I have actually done some research and found out that this is actually an ancestor of mine from 1860 who happened to be in New Orleans, in Louisiana, on a plantation, seen this, painted it, and his ancestor 2 centuries later would wander into this art gallery, having married someone from that place and seen it. And my wife happens to be an art conservator, so it's her job to actually look after paintings. So the conversation that we had about the painting is also in this poem. Plantation Paint. Tabitha, the art conservator, squints at the color, tells me the paint depicting the black of these men huddled for a burial will decay before the cypress trees surrounding them will decay. There are several kinds of black, she says, and the cypress trees surrounding them is all I see as we stand alive in this otherwise empty gallery. Why am I like this? What am I like? Who does it matter to? All details question my way of seeing. I worry what kind of black would mark me. I am not the paint made from vine twigs or burnt shells. I am not the lamp full of oil. Tabitha, tell me how you'd paint me. Tell me if I'm closer to the white painter with my name than I am to the black preacher, his hands wide to the sky, the mahogany rot of heaven. Sorry, but you know by now that I can't mention trees without every shade of my family appearing and disappearing. I'm going to read a poem. One of the things that I do is I'm almost like an art therapist. So I've studied a thing called emotional literacy, in which I encourage people to write about their lives and their experiences and their memories in a kind of cathartic way, in a way to aid healing from trauma. And I often do this in prisons, in schools, workshops, pupil referral units. But I often kind of separate, I suppose, that kind of therapeutic, cathartic idea from my own work, except in this poem. I ended up back in England during the pandemic, and I just started spiraling, being unable to think straight, being in one place. And so I found a therapist that I could speak to online, and we had all of our therapy sessions online through a screen. And right after my first therapy session, I just wrote everything out, and it all kind of came to me in a splurge. And that's what this poem is. I'm just looking for it. So I've done many different kinds of therapies. I started out just doing standard talk therapy, and then I went into CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and I now do a mix of CBT and something called IFS, internal family systems, which I've found really, really useful. And again, some of that appears in this poem. So it's a kind of monologue. I ran away from home to see how long it would take my mother to notice. Are you my drunk teacher who took our game of rounders way too seriously? Are you the boy who said I had the ugliest smile in the playground? Are you the girl who toe-punted my balls and made me a piss sack of blood? The girlfriend who slept with women behind my back said it wasn't cheating. I don't know what I'm saying. Would you be my friend? I spent hours in the house alone as a child. I left fingerprints on my sister's CDs so the music kept skipping. I wanted her friends to be my friends, but I wasn't invited to her parties. Are you the party? Are you my dad lying on the sofa saying I'll soon be dead? When I pull What is Existentialism off my mother's shelf, Simone de Beauvoir says, the movement of my transcendence appears futile. I don't know what that means, so I put it back. Fuck. Who loves me? I'm testing everyone. I need space for all my old and new gooey needs and projections. I need constant blaring validation alarms. Give me award ceremonies. Please, observe my wall of fame. Best second-guessing overachiever. Best internal monologue while drying dishes. Best self-promoter at the charity fundraiser. Best awkward silence in a moving vehicle. Best bad advice to a couple in crisis. Best non-smoker in the smoking area. Most self-centered fear during the global pandemic. Lifetime Achievement Award for most convincing head nod in a crowded pub. Most triggered person in an empty house. Thank you. I'm going to try 3 brand new poems that I've never done before. So, here goes. This is always, for me, the most exciting part of readings, but also the scariest part. So we'll see how these brand new poems go. First poem is called Member. My son is now 22 months old, and the first year of his life, there was all kinds of situations I was in, which I was like, why am I having this response? And this is one of those situations. Have people read this book that people like called the Bible? Some have. I recently reread Noah, the story of Noah in the book of Genesis. And the story is a lot more interesting than it was taught to me at school. A lot more complicated. But anyway, some of that ended up into this poem. And I took a line from it at the to open it. Member. And God said to Noah, an end of all flesh has come before me. Genesis 6:13. Strange. I had to think twice before bathing naked with my infant son. Thought to search if it's appropriate, when worried about the digital trace. I covered myself, didn't want to reveal what I contend with. My son has no data on desire, or rather, my son is still gathering data on his body. I've gathered much on mine. I lie with my son in water, warm, soapy. He stands, wobbles on my chest. I become a surfboard during a flood, an unsettled shore, an ark of clean and unclean animals, an end of all flesh. Strange. I uncross my legs, laugh, pray. My son doesn't pee. Our laughter couldn't be cleaner. Not bad. That poem's not bad. It felt good to have that one out in the air. I really toiled. Okay, this poem is called In the Gender Neutral Restroom. I did a residency a few months back, a writing residency in which all of the toilets were gender neutral, and it created this kind of response with me that I was like, oh, what's going on here? And I thought to I don't know if people know the Elizabeth Bishop poem, In the Waiting Room, and I thought of that poem, and actually thought of the failure of that poem and the mistakes that poem, I don't even think it's subjective, the racism and the kind of harm that poem projects. And I thought, okay, let me write something in that vein without centering my own discomfort. Anyway, this poem is called In the Gender Neutral Restroom. In the gender neutral restroom, I consider the urinal. Behind me, the door is pushed. Enter a maybe man, mohawk dyed purple. A maybe man, diamond studded. A maybe woman, green eyeliner, black rimmed glasses. In the bright communal mirror, I notice my tightness, box stiff shoulders, brows creased, rigid mouth. I relax, let it out, stream. I hear nothing crack or scream, nothing except release of my own prickling, my own flowing fluid. I got a woo for that one. All right. How are we doing on time? We're all right. Okay, sweet. Just a few minutes. All right, I'm going to try this one. I'm teaching my son to sign. He can't speak, but he knows how to sign. He likes signing animals. And we've had a lot of fun with sign. And this is about teaching him to sign. This poem is called Signs Music. I'm going to stand next to you for this one. The first word my son signed was music. Both hands, fingers conducting music for everything, even hunger. Open mouth with a chew, spoon, squealing, music. We'd play a record while he ate music. When he wanted milk, I pour and hum a lullaby, or I Just Don't Know by Bill Withers, because it's okay not to know what you want, and I want him to know that. Music is wiping the table after the plates. Music is fill my forehead for fever, is whatever occurs in the center of the body, whatever makes arms raise up, up. The second word my son signed was bird. Beak, finger to thumb. Bird for everything outside. Window, sky, tree. Roof, chimney, aerial, airplane, birds. I saw I had given him a sign name. Fingers to eyes, raising from thumb, wide, eye, meaning watchful of the earth in 3 different roots. Hebrew, Arabic, Latin. I love how he clings to my shoulders and turns his head to point at the soft body of a caterpillar sliding across the counter and signs, music. Cool. All right, that just gives me 1 minute to do this last poem, which is the last poem in this book. This poem is called Happy Birthday Moon. And as I read this poem, I invite everyone. Usually when I'm writing poems, I think, okay, what am I trying to answer? What am I trying to explore? And when I was writing this poem, the thing I was trying to explore is, where does my language begin? Where does it come from? So I'd like to offer this kind of prompt for all of you. I'd like you to think about, where does your language begin? Who do you have to thank for your language? And what are you doing with that language today? What do you think the responsibility of the language is? How are we moving it on and making it new? So this poem is called Happy Birthday Moon, and it's the title of the book, of a children's picture book that my dad used to read to me when I was a child, and I loved him reading me this book. And he didn't know I was deaf, but the book tells a story about a bear who lives out in the woods, and you see in the poem. Anyway, it's my last poem. Thank you so much for listening. It is a privilege to be heard. Happy Birthday Moon. Dad reads aloud. I follow his finger across the page. Sometimes his finger moves past words, tracing white space. He makes the moon say something new every night to his deaf son who slurs his speech. Sometimes his finger moves past words, tracing white space. Tonight he gives the moon my name, but I can't say it. His deaf son who slurs his speech. Dad taps the page, says, try again. Tonight he gives the moon my name, but I can't say it. I say, Raymond Ailbhe. He laughs. Dad taps the page, says, try again. But I like making him laugh. I say my mistake again. I say, Raymond Ailbhe. He laughs, says, Raymond, you're something else. I like making him laugh. I say my mistake again. Raymond Ailbhe. What else will help us? He says, Raymond, you're something else. I'd like to be the moon, the bear, even the rain. Raymond Ailbhe. What else will help us hear each other, really hear each other? I'd like to be the moon, the bear, even the rain. Dad makes the moon say something new every night, and we hear each other really hear each other. As Dad reads aloud, I follow his finger across the page. Thanks.
Just, I know our hour is up, but I feel it'd be a pity if I didn't get to ask them at least one question. Is that okay with you? If I ask one question of the poets? And the question would be this. There are many questions I could ask, but I'll ask Ailbhe first. Ailbhe, all the time during the pandemic, apart from death, what was your greatest fear?
The distance from other people.
Do you mean physical distance?
Physical distance, yeah. People you wanted to see, but you couldn't.
Right.
Yeah. But other than that, it was actually a very nice time, you know. We were just at home.
I loved it too.
We had with small kids, you know.
Yeah,
we didn't
yeah.
have to homeschool them. They were too young for that.
Yeah.
So it was actually nice enough.
So distance from people.
From people.
Not from places or things you wanted to see.
No, people.
People. Okay. Raymond, what would you have been your greatest fear?
I think mine was missed connections, missed opportunities, missed memories that could have been made with loved ones, with friends, with new people, going into new places. Like even being booked here, I was meant to be here 2 years ago.
Okay.
But, so this is like an honoured reading almost, like to be here. So yeah, I'd say that's something I think about, that 2 years. There was some really amazing times about it, but there's also, I can't help but think about the things or the memories, the connections that are lost in that or missed in that.
And you were with your family, obviously, in England.
At that point, yeah, going back and forth.
But you couldn't go back to America, you couldn't?
Well, then we went to Oklahoma, of all places, and we lived in Oklahoma for the last year of the pandemic. So, yeah.
To Tulsa, was it?
Near Tulsa, Oklahoma City. We drove to Tulsa a few times, but yeah.
Oh. Kind of similar fears, really, of missing connections or not making connections, which is a reminder to us all of one of the most important functions of poetry, really, and also the impulse to make poems, which is to make a connection. And that was so much part of the lives and I think the not anxieties, but the kind of creative spirit of these two fine poets. So I feel honoured to have been able to introduce them, and I know you feel honoured to have heard them today. So thank you very much. Don't forget there are some books, and also I don't want to forget to thank you so much for signing so beautifully. Keira. Thank you.